Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Militado ML1868 Chronograph. This watch is available from militadowatch.com for $99 which is €94. So firstly, let's look at the hard shell travel case that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in this hard shell travel case, which is carbon fibre effect, very aesthetically pleasing, and it has the Militado brand logo embossed. Good attention to detail because it's very nicely finished, and if you look at the zipper, you can see they have embossed on the zipper pull Militado in contrasting white rubber. The zip feels nice and smooth, so it's good quality. I'll show you the interior. In the base we have a foam cutout panel which does a good job of protecting the watch in shipping from any damage, and in the underside of the lid we have a elasticated web pocket which houses two items which I'll show you. So we have the international warranty card. Now, I'm pleased to report that the ML1868 is covered by a 3-year international warranty, which is very good because this is a low-tier piece costing €94. Other Militado watches, they're usually covered by a 2-year international warranty, but on this ML1868, Militado are very confident in the reliability, and therefore they've covered it with a 3-year international warranty, and that really is unheard of in the low tier at €94. They deserve full credit for that. One also gets this owner's instruction manual in the form of a booklet, clear concise diagrams. The instructions are in English, and it details the operation of the movement use, which is the Seiko VK67 Mecha Quartz. So with the watch, you also get this canvas strap, which is free if the nylon NATO strap isn't your personal taste. So let's have a look at it. Nice fine weave to the canvas fabric, and they've made the correct decision because they've got this strip of vinyl which contrasts very well because it's a darker green, and the purpose of this is to prevent the holes in the strap fraying. It's often the case with canvas straps that with regular use the holes tend to elongate and fray because the canvas fabric can't take the repeated use of being pierced by the tang on the buckle. And the underside is also lined with leather, so it's very smooth and comfortable to wear for long periods of time because canvas can be quite rough and irritating to wear, but leather is of course very comfortable. Stitching is very good around the perimeter, and I'm pleased to see the use of quick release stainless steel spring bars, so one doesn't need a spring bar tool in order to fit the strap. It does feel very stiff, but I think with regular use it's going to break in and become soft and supple. It's always the case with straps that are made from fabric and also leather that they are quite thick and stiff, but they do tend to break in if they're used regularly. Let's look at the buckle and tang side. We've got two keepers as one would expect, one slides and one's fixed. Good stitching, and also good stitching on the underside to the leather liner. Quick release spring bar is good as I've detailed. Unsigned sterile 316L grade stainless steel buckle and tang, which is acceptable at this price point. Normally I would be critical of a buckle being unsigned, but this is a €94 piece. One has to expect some cost-cutting measures. Matte bead blasted effect to it, which is good. It matches the bead blasted effect to the bezel and case, and no sharp edges, no burrs, and it's a satisfactory gauge of stainless steel. And lastly, one also gets this stainless steel spring bar tool, nailed shank to it, and two-pronged fork for removing spring bars at one end, and at the other end we have a push pin for pushing out bracelet pins. So it's good to get this included, a very useful accessory. Right, so with regards to the dimensions of the piece, we have a 39mm case diameter, we have a lug-to-lug measurement of 47mm, a thickness of 12.5mm, and a lug width of 20mm. The nylon black NATO strap is 20mm at the lugs and 20mm at the buckle and tang. The buckle and tang and all the hardware, the two keepers, are also matte bead blasted effect. It's the same buckle and tang as used on the canvas strap I showed you. No sharp edges, no burrs, satisfactory gauge to the 316L grade stainless steel. And I like that it's got a matte bead blasted effect rather than mirror polishing because the matte hardware does complement the matte bead blasted effect to the bezel and the head of the piece. So we have BGW9 and C3 Superluminova on the dial. So the Arabic numerals, which are correctly proportioned, they're clearly legible, they are lumed with BGW9, which glows blue. And if you look at the triangular printed indices you can see they have a patina lume which matches the patina lume on the syringe hands. But however, this is a negative of the watch that I want to draw to your attention. If you look at the patina lume on the printed triangular indices, you can see they're darker in daylight conditions. If you look at the syringe hands, you can see it's a lighter tone of patina lume, and this is caused by a different number of layers being applied to the printed indices and the syringe hands. For example, it's often problematic for brands to get the colour tone match of patina lume on the hands and the indices because on the dial they apply 5 to 6 layers, but on the hands they're not able to apply as much thick lume. They apply 3 to 4 layers, for example, and the more layers of patina C3 you apply, the darker it looks. The less layers, the lighter. So one can clearly see there are less layers applied to the syringe hands than on the indices because the indices look darker, and I'm absolutely confident they would have used the same C3 patina superluminova on both the hands and the indices. So it just comes down to the application of layers. I would like to see Militado improve upon this. They can change the colour of the C3 patina lume to darken it down so that it matches the colour tone of the patina lume, which is peach, on the printed indices. But having said that, the BGW9 they use on the Arabic numerals is clearly 5 to 6 layers. One can see it has a 3D effect. It doesn't look flat, and they are correctly proportioned. They're high definition, they don't look blurry, so they have done a good job of printing the chapter ring and also the subdials at 12, 9 and 6. So I like the asymmetrical dial, and I'll just move the minute hand out of the way to show you Militado and Chronograph. I like the fact that it's not over-branded with unnecessary text or specification. The dial doesn't look too cluttered for a chronograph. For example, we don't have unnecessary information like 100 meters water resistance. That is negligible information for a chronograph. It's not a dive piece. So I like the dial isn't over-branded. Militado and Chronograph, it's nice and clean, plenty of space between the subdials, and the markings on the subdials are very good. Proportions of the mirror-polished hands on the subdials are correct. I also like the proportions of the hands. If you look at the minute hand, it's often a case with low-tier Chinese pieces that they have undersized hands. The hands are too short and also they're too small. But if you look at the length of the syringe minute hand, you can see the tip of the syringe hand extends all the way to the minute ticks on the chapter ring. The hour hand is also correctly proportioned. It's a syringe hand, but the tip of the hour hand touches the Arabic numerals, and that is how it should be. The hand should be long enough to touch the Arabic numerals for the hours and the minute ticks for the minutes. If you look at the contrasting red tip to the chronograph second hand, it's also the right length because the tip of the arrowhead, which is red, it meets the minute ticks and also the printed indices. So they deserve credit because they've done a good job of getting the size of the hands correct. This is something that many low-tier brands get incorrect. With regards to the crown, it's a solid 316L grade stainless steel crown, matte bead blasted effect, sterile and coin edge finished. No sharp edges to it, but it does feel very grippy and tactile, so it's easy to get purchase on it with one's index finger and thumb. It's a screw down crown, which is good. They could have just used a push pull crown and given it 50 meters of hermetic seal. 100 meters for a chronograph is very good specification. But however, it's a cost cutting measure that they haven't signed it with the Militado brand emblem, and I think they should do. It should either be engraved or embossed with a Militado eagle, and that would make it more aesthetically pleasing. Sterile crowns are a clear cost cutting measure. Let's test the screw down crown execution. Feels nice and smooth. One can feel the gasket internally in the stainless steel crown and also the second gasket inside the stainless steel crown tube. The threading feels smooth. It's not silky smooth. I can feel some friction and resistance, so there is room for improvement with regards to the quality control, but it does unscrew freely, so it is well made. So pulling it out to the first click position is the phantom date setting position, because the VK67, like the VK63, which has a similar architecture but different subdial positioning, has a date wheel. It has a date complication. So in the first click position, one can feel the date wheel clicking over. So there is a date wheel beneath the dial, and it has 2 clicks. It has a phantom date setting position. Pulling it out to the second click hacks the movement, and if you look at the second subdial, you can see the second hand has now stopped dead, so it's possible to set the time precisely to the second. The Seiko VK67 has a nice light resistance to the gearing, no friction whatsoever, and because it has 0 joules, you can see there is no friction. Feels nice and light, easy to Set the time, minimal back play, so it's good, solid, reliable workhorse mecha quartz. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and that restarts the second. It begins to tick around the 6 o'clock subdial once again. So let's test screwing it back down. Immediate thread pickup. It does feel smooth, although one can feel the friction of the threading and the gaskets compressing. It is a good screw down crown, and to get a screw down crown rather than push pull is good because it's not a cost cutting measure. 100 meters is strong specification. Let's test the chronograph complication and the screw down pushers. Again, I want to give due credit to Militado here because they could have cut production costs and simply used pushers without screw down collars, but these are screw down pushers, like a Rolex Daytona for example. Absolutely silky smooth. The threading on these screw down pushers is silky smooth. Very nice. They don't require a lot of turns to fully unscrew them. I'll just test the bottom one. Again, silky smooth. So the quality control, the tolerances on the screw down pushers is outstanding, and 100 meters of hermetic seal is good. On a chronograph, I prefer screw down pushers because they provide a better hermetic seal. Often on chronographs they simply have pushers without screw down collars and they only have 50 meters of hermetic seal. 100 meters is good, and with a screw down pusher it locks down the pusher, so you're not going to accidentally press it and then let water through the hermetic seal, for example through the rubber O-ring inside the the pusher tube. So I like to see screw down pushers, and at this price point it is very good. So pressing the top pusher activates the chronograph complication, and you can see the contrasting red arrowhead tip to the chronograph hand begins to sweep around the dial. Now I'll explain the difference between the VK67 and the VK63, which you'll be familiar with. The VK63 is often used on homage watches, such as homages of the Speedmaster and the Daytona respectively, because the VK63 has 3 subdials positioned at 9, 6 and 3, so it's suitable for homages to the Speedmaster and Daytona. This VK67 has a different positioning. We have subdials at 12, 9 and 6, and there is another notable difference which I'll show you. So pressing the top pusher has got a nice firm push. I've now stopped the red second hand on the chronograph, as you can see. When I press the lower pusher, you will see the red chronograph hand flies back to 12 o'clock. And this is something which is different. The VK67 moves the chronograph minute hand up to 12 o'clock. It resets it like a flyback. And I like that aspect of it because another difference is that the 9 o'clock subdial has a 12-hour recorder. So the 9 o'clock subdial records 12 hours of the chronograph moving, and this is a difference between the VK67 and the VK63. So the position of the subdials, the 12-hour recorder at 9 o'clock, and also the second hand resets back to 12 o'clock. So I like it. The architecture is similar to the 63. It's a reliable, well-proven workhorse caliber. So let's test screwing down the pushers. Absolutely silky smooth, very light resistance, no friction whatsoever, immediate thread pickup. I'll test the lower one. Again, absolutely silky smooth. So outstanding. The pushers are 10 out of 10. They cannot be improved upon. So double dome sapphire crystal with clear AR coating, and as you can see the AR coating does an excellent job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the double dome sapphire crystal. They've made the correct decision by using a double dome crystal rather than single dome, because had they used a double dome crystal, it would be flat on the underside and curved on the top side, and therefore have a magnification and distortion effect. But by double doming it, it's curved on the underside and also on the top side. It reduces the distortion and the magnification. Perfect clarity. One can easily read the subdials, the large Arabic numerals and the triangular patina printed indices. So the proportions of the dial are correct, and also the use of a double dome crystal with AR is correct. Right, so I'll show you the case back. Solid 316L grade stainless steel case back, which is matte bead blasted effect. Also the bezel and the head of the piece are matte bead blasted all over, so good continuity. And as you can see, they've done a good job. High definition engraving of the Militado eagle, which is the brand logo, and Militado logo. Nice flat stainless steel case back, which provides a hermetic seal to 100 meters. The milled slots don't have any sharp edges or burrs. The bead blasting is done to a good standard. It's very even all the way across the case back. The engraving is good, no sharp edges to it, it doesn't rub or irritate the wrist. For example, if you wear this on the canvas strap included rather than this NATO strap, this isn't going to irritate your wrist. The engraving doesn't feel sharp, although it is clear and high definition. I like the matte bead blasted effect to it. It gives it a military tool watch aesthetic. And the underside to the head of the piece is well finished. Nice chamfers to the tips of the lugs, and the undercut to the lugs doesn't have any burrs or sharp edges. It's not going to scratch the wrist. Nice detail because they've chamfered the ends of the tips of the lugs, so they're not going to dig into the wrist. Nice curved profile to the undercut of the lugs. So it's a well finished case back, and again, 100 meters is strong specification for a chronograph. They could have just reduced production costs, used a thinner case back and made it 50 meters, but I think 100 is strong. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. So just bear with me and I'll do up the NATO strap. Right, so I'm pleased to report I can actually engage the end of the NATO strap in both of the matte bead blasted stainless steel keepers. So the strap will fit up to an 8-inch wrist with no problems whatsoever, and that is good. If you have a larger wrist, this will fit you. So as you can see, very aesthetically pleasing, double dome sapphire crystal, looks very good. I like the matte bead blasted effect to the bezel. It complements the matte bead blasted case. Nice curved profile to the undercut. I like the way the lugs wrap around the wrist. 47mm is close to perfection. You'll know from my previous reviews, I consider 48mm to be the sweet spot, regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7-inch wrist or a 7 to 8-inch wrist respectively. 48 is the perfect lug-to-lug measurement. At 47, this is close to perfection. It will fit you very well if you have a 6 to 7-inch wrist. I have an 8-inch wrist and it even fits my wrist very well. The curved profile wraps around very well, minimal gap underneath the tips of the lugs. 20mm NATO strap is the correct proportion for a 39mm head of the piece. Feels very lightweight. There's a notable lack of heft because this is a mecha quartz, it's not an automatic or a manual wind movement, and it's only 73 grams on this nylon NATO strap, so an exceptionally comfortable piece. It feels invisible and weightless on wrist. And I like the clarity. One can clearly see the syringe hands and also the large Arabic numerals which are loomed with BGW9. It's just a shame that there's a tone mismatch. The triangular printed indices are a darker peach tone to the hands, and it's noticeable in daylight, as you can see. I would like to see them darken down the hands or alternatively lighten up the printed indices just to get the colour tone match better. But I do like the contrasting BGW9 on the large printed Arabic numerals because the legibility is good. Proportion of the subdials is good at 12, 9 and 6. One can clearly read the 9 o'clock register, which registers 12 hours, and the 6 o'clock subdial registers the seconds. So it's very well thought through, and I like the asymmetrical design because they've got Militado and Chronograph at the 3 o'clock position to balance the 9 o'clock subdial. So it's a well thought through piece, looks good. The matte bead blasting effect to it does give it a military aesthetic, and I like that they've matte bead blasted in between the lugs. So it's very well finished, no sharp edges, and the case is well chamfered and deburred. So they deserve credit because the quality control and the finishing is good. So let's do a lume test and we'll see how the lume performs. So as I've detailed, this piece uses both BGW9, which glows blue on the Arabic numerals, and also patina C3 Superluminova on the syringe hands and the printed triangular indices. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to its absolute peak performance. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it hasn't disappointed. Now this is a pleasant surprise because when I was looking at the darker tone of the patina lume on the printed indices, I thought we were going to be looking at 5 to 6 layers on the indices. And I thought on the hands, the performance wouldn't be as strong because they look lighter, and that generally indicates 3 to 4 layers because, as I've detailed, the more layers you apply of Superluminova, the darker the lume gets, but of course, the brighter it glows. So one clearly sees there is more lume applied to the triangular printed indices in green C3, but the hands are also glowing brightly. There is a slight colour tone mismatch. The hands are glowing whiter than the darker green of the triangular indices, but they are glowing to a good standard. The BGW9 on the large Arabic numerals is also glowing very brightly. Good layouts because we've got the symmetry of the Arabic numerals, and also we've got the symmetry of the triangular indices all the way around the dial. It's acceptable to have an absence of the 9 o'clock Arabic numerals and also the 6 o'clock. There's no 9 and 6 because we have the positioning with the VK67 of the subdials at 12, 9 and 6. So one cannot avoid that. I've detailed this in previous reviews. I dislike chronographs and also watches where they have a subdial at 6. I dislike when they chop off portions of the Arabic numerals. It's better to delete the whole numeral rather than have a portion of it visible beneath the subdial. So Militado deserve credit. They've got it correct because they've deleted the 12 Arabic numeral, the 9 and the 6 due to the subdials at 12, 9 and 6 respectively. And it doesn't detract from the legibility. You can clearly see the triangular green patina indices, and also the syringe hands are correctly proportioned. I also like the tip, the arrowhead tip of the second hand ticking around when the chronograph is activated, because that's proportion. One can read that as well if the chronograph is running in the dark. So it's good. Nice contrast between the BGW9 blue Arabic numerals and the C3 superluminova on the indices and syringe hands. It's continuing to glow for a good length of time and it's not fading fast, so it's good performance. Right, so let's discuss the movement used. You will all be familiar with the Seiko V63 as I've detailed, because that is used in a plethora of Daytona and Speedmaster homages due to the subdial positioning at 9, 6 and 3 as per a Speedmaster and a Daytona. This uses the VK67, which has a similar architecture to the VK63. The difference is the positioning of the subdials, because we've got subdials at 12, 9 and 6 as I've detailed. So the main difference between the two is that the VK67 has a register for 12 hours on the 9 o'clock subdial. Also, the difference is that the chronograph hand flies back to 12 o'clock when you reset it. So that is the main difference. The 12-hour recorder at 9 and also the chronograph minute hand moving back to 12 when you reset it. But other than that, the architecture of the 67 and the 63 are the same. The position of the subdials is the main difference. They both have date complications. This does have a date wheel as I've detailed. The negative is one does get a phantom date setting position. The first click, you can feel the clicking of the date clicking over. So 2 click positions on the crown, but that is the way it is with the VK67 megaquartz. They can't delete the date complication. So good, reliable, solid, well-proven workhorse movement. I like it. It's made in Japan. It has 0 joules. It runs at 3-year battery life, and the stated accuracy is plus or minus 20 seconds per month. So I want you to consider that for a second. That's not plus or minus 20 seconds per day or per week. That is plus or minus 20 seconds per month. So better than 1 second per day accuracy. Plus or minus 20 is outstanding accuracy for a low-tier piece costing €94. The VK67 is the correct choice. It's a good quality Seiko caliber made in Japan. Excellent quality control, no reliability or build quality issues whatsoever. It's a well-proven mecha quartz movement. I like both the VK63 and also the VK67. They are my favourite Seiko mecha quartz movements. Accurate, reliable, 3-year battery life is good. Potentially you could buy this piece and wear it for 3 years without having to change the battery, which is excellent. Chronograph works very well. I like the solid, crisp feeling, pressing down the top pusher, and I like the resets of the chronograph hand flying back to 12 o'clock. So it's a nice, satisfying chronograph. The pushers feel solid. They've got a heavy spring-loaded action to them. They don't feel light like they're going to break with repeated use. They feel reliable, solid, firm. So I like that reliability of the VK67 and the VK63 mecha quartz. No negatives to the movement whatsoever. Accurate and reliable. So last I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, the only negative, as I've detailed, the only thing I would change about it is the patina lume. It's too light on the hands and too dark on the printed indices. So they need to either darken it down on the syringe hands or lighten it up on the printed indices. There's a colour mismatch. Other than that, Militado have got everything correct. The screw down crown is smooth. It's not silky smooth, but it's good enough. The screw down pushers are silky smooth, and I'm delighted to see collars, screw down collars, rather than just having pushers without collars. AR coating's good. BGW9 and Super Lume Nova perform well. The AR coating is working well too. Symmetry, asymmetrical dial is clearly legible. Proportions are correct. Handset is correct. So they've got a lot of things right for this piece. The only thing I would like to see is the addition of a signed screw down crown with either an engraved or embossed Militado eagle. That would just finish the piece off, but of course that would increase production costs. So excellent quality and excellent value at €94. I'm going to declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money, and I'm going to highly recommend it to you for your consideration. I hope you've liked my review of the Militado ML1868 Chronograph. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.